And we're live.
Yay!
I'm Joe.
I'm Ashley.
And together we are Geek to My Nerd. And we are here to continue our To Infinity War and Beyond special with the
Thor Trilogy.
Yes, we are. Do you want to just jump right in after we see who's in the chat here in a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about this one for, about a third of it. Maybe 2/3.
I was actually more pleasantly surprised than I expected, but we can go more into that when we break down each individual film.
Yeah.
No one's popped in the chat just yet, but I'm sure someone will be there shortly. I know there's at least one other person waiting. It's all bueno. It's all cheddar cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Hello, Sam.
We got Sam and Cal. So.
Welcome to you two. Welcome joining. Welcome to the show. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm a little rusty if you can't tell. My brain's a little scrambled for midterms.
They do have that effect on people.
Yep. So let's jump right in.
All right.
To this lovely slideshow you've made us.
Yes. All right. So, of course, we're going to do like a basic overview of the movies and such. Things that we didn't like, which we call gripes. Things that we liked, which we don't have a clever name for.
Nope.
Different MCU connections, our Stan Lee cameos, and then mid and post credit scenes.
Yep.
And just kind of talk about our overall thoughts on each of these movies. And I love the posters so far because you have like Thor, with all the people, and it's very dark. And then the Dark World is just a little bit lighter, which is hilarious. And then Thor Ragnarok, combo breaker. It's just a Technicolor spectacle. It's so awesome.
Kimber's joined us in the chat.
You can really tell that these are directed by different people.
Yes.
Just by the poster art.
Yep. Totally. All right.
So let's start it off with Thor, which was released on May 6th, 2011, directed by Kenneth Branagh, who you may know from Harry Potter as the professor who was a moron. I cannot remember his name right now, but I'm sure Kimber can tell us.
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Thank you, Joe. See, Joe knows, and he's not even a Potter person.
I'm really not.
This was still in the first phase of Marvel and the fourth movie. Like every movie so far that we have done for this show, it opened at number 1 at the box office. It had a production budget of $150 million, and worldwide, it earned about a little less than $500 million.
Which is still pretty impressive, I'm not going to lie. It almost tripled its budget.
Yeah, about 4.5 million,
Yeah.
100 million.
450 million.
Yeah, I'm not good at...
It's cool, you're creative writing, not math.
I'm not good at numbers, so I'm going to stop talking about numbers.
Kimber is saying that it's an underrated trilogy, and I agree. I can concur with that. Cal is telling us he played Heimdall. I'm pretty sure you're not the perfect human being, Idris Elba, Cal. You're close. I'm not going to discredit you.
It would be cool if you were Idris Elba, but we know you're not.
Yeah, we know you're not. We've met you, Cal.
Yes.
You're awesome.
Yes, we have met you. You're not Idris Elba, you're not.
Idris Elbow.
Idris Elbow. All right, so going into our gripes about Thor, this kind of represents the inconsistent CGI in this movie.
Yeah, some of it's really good. And then, I think when the CGI is there for, some of the scenery, it's pretty good. But any of the active CGI is not.
And this looks like it's more model work than CGI, but it was
when it's in motion.
It was hard to find. It's always hard to find a good picture that represents that idea, but I felt that the CGI was very inconsistent in this movie. Other times it was great and it looked like it held up really well. Other times it looked terrible. So,
and I feel as though this one is more. You could be more critical of this one than some of the other MCU stuff, because I think even some of the other MCU movies that rely on CGI a lot are not as noticeable or painful as this one.
Yeah,
definitely not the ones that we've done so far.
Cal's now saying that he played the sword.
Okay, I can buy that.
And this is a really stupid gripe, but their hair looked horrible in this movie. Just going back, it's who styled them?
They've come a long way, baby.
They need some Pantene or L'Oreal or something.
L'Oreal.
Thor. Yeah, this is before he had the
Pantene Loki.
the glorious hair, and they looked weird.
And
again, this is so petty, but it really bothered me this time.
We were talking about it after we were done watching all 3 movies, and I think I realized what it was. Is he's really, really blonde in this,
and he has no eyebrows.
Yeah, his eyebrows and his hair are so blonde, and in the subsequent movies, it's a little more of a dirty blonde, more than it is here, and it's less bothersome.
Loki doesn't look that bad, but he doesn't look like he's in his prime Lokiness, where he just like looks real good and is getting all the ladies' attention or gentlemen.
I mean, he was in this one still because it's Tom Hiddleston, and
yeah, he's
pretty awesome.
But yeah, their hairstyle was not great.
Hey, Ashley, name a more iconic duo.
Groot and Rocket.
Oh man, that's right.
So those are really like the 2 things that were like bothered us about this movie. Otherwise, it was really great. I love that they kept hitting him with the car.
Yeah, the use of repetition of jokes is usually very on point in the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the fact that they hit him twice is perfect. It's beautiful. And he's just like, "Ooh!" You got like the perfect scene of it.
Yeah, this is the one I could find. It's just like, what's going on? I think this is when he just casually left the hospital after beating up everybody.
Tom's saying that maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's the Odin Force. I can concur. It's probably that. There's magic in that. There's secrets in that hair. Loki is not sexy to me. Kind of looks like a greasy scumbag with a ton. LOL. A ton of my female friends love him though. I think he looks better in Avengers and Thor 2. Like his hair doesn't look gross and oily. And hair is a big deal for characters like Thor and Loki because they're these like spray painted on the side of a van superhero like mythical figures. So like hair is a big deal.
I just love this picture.
Where he's just like, oh no, it looks like they're hitting Bigfoot. Because everyone's slightly more in focus than Thor.
Yeah. And I just love all these characters for side characters in a superhero movie. This is a pretty great trio.
I'll also say Tom Hiddleston is, I think, more attractive as Loki when he's not in the movies as Loki, but making appearances in random things, like when he's on stage. But anywho,
yeah, this
is definitely one of the strongest. There's a lot to love about the first Thor movie.
Yeah, it was great. I love this scene where he has no concept of what Earth manners are.
Yep.
And so he literally like just throws down this coffee cup, like, I'll have another. And they're like, what is wrong with you?
He shatters it. It's like, not just that he throws it down, he like flings it.
This is not how we behave on what they call it, Midgard.
Yeah.
It's not how we behave. And it's like, oh, I didn't know. And he's immediately remorseful, and he actually does learn how to act more like a human person.
A human.
Yeah, a human. But
and
that's pretty good that they're showing that he's not just like this big, beefy moron. It's like,
he's got a good heart. He's just
like, I didn't know that was a thing. I'll correct my behavior.
Oh, man. TJ Dex has joined us. Welcome, TJ. Kimber says that Thor reminds her of her brother. I get it. And it's crazy to think Hiddleston went into play as Thor. That is kind of crazy.
I did not know that.
And Tom is saying that he looks like Powder in an 80s flick. I get it. But yeah. But yes, this was a fun scene just in general, and they're all like flabbergasted at how much he's eating.
Yes, he's eating everything. It's like, how did you eat 2 Pop-Tarts and this whole restaurant? Because he's a big man.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the aesthetic of the town that they're in, where it feels like they're in like the 1950s.
Yep, which works because they're in New Mexico, and it's the whole crashed alien thing, which is really an interesting take on implementing Thor in the Marvel universe. They chose the center point of alien activity in the United States, like in the mythological alien activity of the United States. So I love that they chose that as well.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and this Guardian thing was pretty cool looking.
So let's check in with the chat real quick. TJ played Thor for like 3 years when he had long hair every Halloween.
Nice.
And we've been keeping up with the chat as we go, so there's not a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
All in all, I really enjoyed Thor.
Yeah, I think we have some more likes.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's some things to like about this one. I really liked the relationship with his father. I thought that this was a great casting for Odin. I don't think you can go wrong with Anthony Hopkins, although he's been in some pretty bad movies before, but I thought he was a good Odin.
When he's in those bad movies, it shows. And I think he even didn't care about this one. He was just like, I think his response to the first Thor movie was a lot like, oh, crud. Rosebud.
Citizen Kane?
The actor.
Orson Welles?
Orson Welles' response to Transformers, where he was just kind of like, I'm in this dumb movie with robots. Perhaps he should have taken Orson Welles' attitude to the 5th Transformers.
Maybe.
I like Thor 2 because it went full fantasy more than one, plus black hole grenades. The black hole grenades were pretty awesome.
I love this moment where Thor thinks that he can like just come up and get his hammer. Like he doesn't realize that it's been imbued with the like you have to be worthy to wield this hammer, and it's just like, wait, what? And then it even looks like Agent Coulson is like disappointed that this is not the person that he thought it was. And, like the whole like lying about who he is, like, oh yeah, this is our friend Donald, the doctor,
Dr. Donald Blake.
Yeah.
I also love that this was some other link to the MCU that we'll bring up shortly was introduced in this scene.
Yes. So we got, and then I really loved Kat Dennings as I think her name is Darcy. She was really just a great comic relief character, and I think it's really cool that like ladies could be the comic relief in a movie like this.
And it's not like she's like dumb comic relief.
No, she's really smart.
She just doesn't. She's like literally like, this is not even my field of expertise. I don't care. It's college credit. Yeah. I would do what she's doing for 6 hours of college credit.
Yeah, I think it would be worth it. And then I love it when she won't say Mjolnir.
Mew Mew. Yeah.
Meow Meow. What's Meow Meow? Yeah. And then it just keeps going like she never learned.
I feel like we should get more of Darcy in the MCU. Perhaps she could be an intern at Stark Enterprises.
That would be amazing. I would love to see more Kat Dennings in the MCU. She's great. And of course, I loved Stellan Skarsgård as the scientist.
Yeah, his name escapes me right now.
He's just so great. Like I love I think he's just like a precious older man, and he was funny. I liked him.
Especially in the second one when he's kind of off his rocker because it's post Avengers, and there's a comment I tweeted about it that he's got a comment in the second one that we'll bring it up when we get to it. But he's great in both of these. I think as good as the third one is, which we'll talk about it later, I think it suffers for the lack of these characters.
Yeah, I would love to have seen especially those two. In the third one in some way or form. And I love how like his character has a connection to like the Norse myths as well, whereas like this is what I grew up on. Here's like this little children's book. These are just a bunch of fairy tales, but then it turns out to be real.
Which it's interesting too, because we had talked about this when we were watching it, is like, this is obviously a world where Norse mythology exists, but this is a world where we don't have Thor, the comic character. So there will be people that know who Thor is because there's probably video games and stories and movies, but there isn't like that extra presence of like pop culture knowledge. Like
does this have Adventures in Babysitting where Thor is like a prominent symbol in that movie, and the little girl thinks she met Thor? Like, what did they have that movie? I want to know.
Yeah, so like I know they have Captain America comic books, but that makes sense because Captain America was a person that existed and did all this stuff and all this junk. But there's no Mighty Thor like comic books, so it's just an interesting concept because it thusly also makes it more important that he knows these legends and fairy tales and these children's stories, because what other pop culture references are they going to get other than the actual Norse like legends? Oh yes, Kimber pointed out my nice shirt. I'm wearing my
your OSP
my classic OSP shirt.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
So
you can get those from Janine's store.
G9 Designs over at TeePublic.
Yes.
So
let's see what else I have in here because I forgot what I put on this PowerPoint. I love Heimdall.
The worst part about Idris Elba is Heimdall. Yeah,
because like obviously this was before Idris Elba blew up.
It is.
And so this is a very minor character for him. He gets to do more later on in the other movies, but this is definitely like oh, we didn't know we had this gem.
Yeah, it's sad because he is fantastic as Heimdall. And the worst part about him being Heimdall is he's stuck playing Heimdall. Is that, I mean, they could do other stuff. But I love him as this character.
And I remember there was a lot of controversy around this casting because it's like he can't be an African American person or, you know, obviously a black person because he's not from America.
Yeah.
But still, like, oh no, it's like, who cares? It's fantasy. Fantasy doesn't have to be.
They're space alien knights from beyond the stars.
Yeah, they don't have to be
that use a magic portal bridge.
There's not one shade.
Nope.
It can be all the shades.
What else we got?
I really liked Lady Sif.
I did too.
And then, of course, the
Warriors 3.
The Warriors 3. I love how they, again, we got some a little bit of diversity here with, I can't remember this actor's name.
If someone remembers it in the chat, please put it in there.
And then I love how they, but then they make kind of like a not like a super inappropriate comment in the movie, but they're like, hey, it's like Robin Hood and Jackie Chan. It's like not all Asian people are Jackie Chan. Like, I hate when people say stuff like that. So,
well, yeah, but not everyone can be super
it wasn't as awoke. And then, of course, the redheaded guy looks like a dwarf.
Naturally.
Like, I think they're like going for like Gimli light.
Yep.
Which I liked. And then I liked this moment where like Thor is being like a total gentleman, even though like I don't really like the relationship that he has with Jane Foster. I like that he was trying to be a gentleman and like, let me kiss your hand, fair maiden, and she just like starts making out with him.
Yeah, she's like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah. Regardless, it was kind of a funny scene too. She's like, oh, that's what you look like all the time then, huh? Oh yeah, this is it.
This is my normal.
Oh, that's nice. It's nice. Even in the ritual of That's a Lot, the reference spoilers Loki. Ritual on Netflix. The reference spoilers like interesting. Not that it has to do with the MCU, but just as a godlike presence, pop culture wise, interesting. Yeah, and I understand that there would be other references, but like my introduction to the character Thor was literally from the comics when I was a little kid. I grew up with comic books. I don't have nearly the kind of knowledge a lot of other people have, but I do remember reading comics and buying comics from the store. And the Mighty Thor was a character I knew. It wasn't until I was like 7 or 8 or 9 maybe that I found out he wasn't just a comic character, that he was just part of history. And that screwed up my world. So
I remember you talking about Loki a lot when we were younger.
I love Loki.
Who's Loki?
I love the
and he caused a lot of problems in all the little stories you told.
Yep.
So yes.
Trickster gods, you know, always up to shenanigans.
All right, I love Agent Coulson so much.
He's a fun character.
And then Thor called him Son of Cole.
Yep, which makes sense because Thor's name is Thor Odinson.
Yeah,
and when he's
Son of Odin.
Yeah, so when he introduces himself as Agent Coulson, he's like, Son of Cole. Yeah, no, totally made sense. And it's something I forgot the first few times we watched this, and we watched it this time around, and I just busted out laughing.
Yeah, lots of really great moments. What we got next? All right, and so our MCU connections, which also are things that we like. We get like, oh no, we need a sniper, and then it's like you just like see it from the point of view of Hawkeye, seeing through his eyes, like, oh, I'm gonna go for the
rifle,
and then he's like, nope, let me go for the compact bow.
Yep.
And then this is the banter. Like, I'm starting to like this guy more and more.
I'm starting to root for him, and
like he stole the scene he was in, and then he was not in it. It was like less than 10 minutes of Hawkeye. It was a perfect introduction to his character. You can see that he is just done with everything.
Yep. We don't get his call sign either. We just know him as Barton, which it's also nice for the people that know about the comics. I think a lot of these early movies that did that, where they just used their names, they didn't use like code names or call signs or anything. And it's nice little nods to the comic fans that will recognize the character names just alone.
Like, here's a little taste for you.
Yeah, this guy's Barton. He's getting the bow, and everyone's like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
And then everyone else is like, who's that guy?
He's using a bow instead of a gun. That's like, kind of awesome.
Yeah, like that guy must be real brave. But just a little small scene that was, a little connection, but also something I really enjoyed.
As a spoiler for the rest of our MCU talk in general, Hawkeye has become one of my favorite characters because of the MCU. I then looked into more of his comic stuff, and I've grown to love him even more. he is a wildly underrated character. This is one we completely forgot about.
Yeah, like I forgot this guy was in the movie. He's from
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
As one of the.
Now this is his introduction.
What do we call him in the car?
A Shydra agent.
A Shydra agent because he's a Shield agent, but also in Hydra.
This is his introduction.
Trademark action.
Shield officer Jackson Sitwell, or Shield agent. I don't know.
Agent.
Shydra agent Jackson Sitwell. Or Sitwell. I just know his last name is Sitwell.
Shydra. Trademark action.
But this is the first time we see him in the actual MCU films. So it was one of those situations where you see him on screen. I'm like, oh my God, that's Sitwell. That dirty monster.
He just looks like he would be wrong.
Yeah. Looks like he smells.
Yeah, it does have. Why does all the bald people smell? Every bald character, they smell.
All right. Any more MCU connections?
No, the Stan Lee cameo. This is a
just random dude trying to pull. He screws up his truck.
Yeah, trying to pull Thor's hammer in a great little scene where they think it's a satellite that has dropped down from the sky, and it is not.
It is totally not. So I believe that's the bulk of it.
And we still have after credits.
Oh, right.
All right, so the post credits, of course, every time it's like Loki's dead. He's never really dead because he's a god of mischief.
He's a trickster,
and so we see that he has somehow taken over our scientist character.
God, I wish I could remember his name.
Yeah, right now. Stellan Skarsgård. I know the actor's name. Usually, I can't ever get that either. Yeah, but he has possessed him, and they're looking at the Tesseract, I think, in this.
Because Fury pulls him in to help him work on the Tesseract because he's a physicist. And Loki's there, and he's like, "Oh, yes."
I'll just do all this.
Setting up for the Avengers, because I believe there's only one more film between this and the first Avengers film, and it was Captain America: The First Avenger. So, which I believe that's all of what we got
for Thor, at least
for the first Thor.
Yes.
Overall, my impressions are very positive of this film.
Yeah, we never saw this one in the theater. We watched it leading up to when the first Avengers was coming out.
Yep.
I think we had to rent it from Redbox.
Probably because it
wasn't streaming anywhere. This is before Amazon Prime.
It was before we were really in on Amazon. So I think Prime might have existed, but even then it was before it was streaming. Yeah. So we had to literally go rent it from Redbox.
We had to hunt down all the movies somehow. So it was quite a challenge to get all of the Phase 1 movies.
Yep.
But I remember really enjoying this. I didn't know a lot about Thor other than the Adventures in Babysitting.
And I like that it's a weirdly interestingly perfectly serviceable first adventure. There's nothing really bad or offensive about it. It's just it's an adventure.
Yeah, it's a fun little movie. I like Thor. I like Chris Hemsworth. I thought it was well cast. Fun times. I definitely like rewatching this one.
So yeah, not a lot of conversation and chat at the moment, but that's fine. We'll get more as things move on. So we're going to move on to the next film in the franchise because we got to brush through these first two so we can get to the main event. Thor: The Dark World,
which came out on November 8th of 2013, which just happens to be my sister's birthday.
Whoa.
We've switched directors. Alan Taylor directed this. I think he's more known for television projects. So this was the second phase, and this is the second movie of that phase. Of course, it opened 5th at the box office, jumped up $20 million in production budget, and also earned a little bit over $500 million with a 640, million plus.
Yeah.
Monies.
So.
Monies.
Yeah, that much money.
That's a technical term, monies. So yeah, it's it's trending upward box office wise, which is good.
Kimber is saying she actually likes Thor 2 more than the first one. Unpopular opinion. I think there is more to like in Thor 2. But I think and it's something we'll talk about in a little bit. But we're going to start with our gripes with Malakath. And I want to be clear. I didn't dislike Malakath.
No, it's just we felt like it was a wasted character.
He was very underutilized. He just kind of he was really cool. And Christopher Eccleston did a fantastic job portraying rage and anger and all this other stuff.
Underneath all of this prosthetics and makeup as well.
Oh, imagine the eyes. But with all of that, it still felt like he was just kind of like a bland villain of the week. like he belonged on a TV show, is how it felt like he was written. Which is upsetting.
Yeah,
because
I love Christopher Eccleston. I know you do too.
And it's really funny because we're going to talk, of course, it's hard to talk about these movies without talking about all three of them together. Surtur, who is kind of another one of those throwaway, not really a throwaway, but a mythological villain that's supposed to be a big, dangerous threat. But he, I felt, was better utilized than Malakath is. So, regardless, I felt like he was totally underutilized in this film, and it was upsetting because he could have been so great.
I just don't like the relationship between Jane Foster and Thor,
super forced.
Especially after the fact, because like they broke up or whatever. So it's like it feels like they're setting us up for nothing, for no payoff. I'm
sure that wasn't an intent, but it happened.
Yeah, so there could have been some behind the scenes things that happened.
I'm fairly certain. Or it was the fact that their relationship, at least to me, felt kind of forced to begin with.
Yeah, like they didn't need to have a relationship.
Nope. I mean, even though they do in the comics, that's the thing. And she becomes Thor at some point. She is Thor at some point, which is cool. It's awesome.
But yeah, I just felt like there wasn't like a big payoff here. That's just my little gripe. And then you thought we wouldn't notice this, huh?
Yeah.
This is a different actor.
Playing one of the Warriors 3.
The one that gets called Robin Hood by the police.
Chuck himself, Zachary Levi, the thin white Duke from the Psych movie.
Yes.
Playing the blonde one, the rapier-wielding one, the Robin Hood one.
Yes.
I don't remember their names, unfortunately.
When do we know anyone's names?
That being said, it is a woeful underutilization of Zachary Levi.
And so this is not really like a gripe per se, just the literal like, yeah, good job.
At least he looks kind of like the other one.
Yeah, like it's close enough where, if you didn't watch them back to back.
It's not an April O'Neil thing.
No.
This is not an April O'Neil situation.
Yeah.
We're going to get to one of those eventually, sort of. Not exactly, but we'll talk about it.
And the other Warriors 3 are consistent throughout the movies, and he stays the warrior
in or in Ragnarok.
But they're just funny.
Yep. So likes. There's actually a surprisingly large amount of them for me. I know.
Yeah, I don't have pictures for everything because it was really hard to find stuff for this movie. Without like just having to like screenshot like literally like every little thing. So,
we've gotten the best Thor hair yet.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good as the character. I liked the fight scenes, the fact that they were going to help other realms.
Vanaheim, the realm of the Vanir, a sister species to the Aesir. And one of the Warriors 3 is a native of Vanaheim.
So, yeah, like the fights were really good. I like Loki a lot, and it's like him just chilling, reading.
In
his little prison.
It's one of the things I've loved about these movies is the arc of their relationship. And it kind of starts showing like they do kind of care about each other, but they have their problems more in this one, even in the first one. And I like how complex of a character he is. It's Loki kind of realizes it's partially his fault that his mother's dead, and so he gets upset about it. Because I think Frigga is the only one that he really still had a connection with, because she sent holograms to talk to him and check on him and send him books and make sure he's relatively cared for and all that jazz. So, yeah. We get to see some off-duty Heimdall, because in general Heimdall's great. I like that this one shows us more of Asgard other than just massive halls, but we get to see this little bar scene where they're just chilling and having a good time. Nice little chat. But yeah, more Heimdall, please.
Yeah, I think, and especially with Idris Elba's popularity, probably giving him like more things to do, because it's like we need to utilize this actor that we have because we don't want to waste this gift.
Yeah.
I thought all of the Dark Elves looked really cool. I liked the costumes and the makeup.
It's interesting because I tweeted about it when we were watching the film that that Guardians of the Galaxy feels a lot like the Starfinder role-playing game to me. But man, watching Thor: The Dark World and Ragnarok felt even more, because they're space elves. They have starships, but they're still dark elves, and they still have this cool like chitinous bone armor-looking stuff, and they're intimidating. Their masks are scary. They're everything. I love the Dark Elves. I love their cursed. Their shock troopers. They're so cool.
All right, and I thought this little relationship was kind of cute because again I like Darcy, and then she has this random intern, and they have like a cute little like story arc and little relationship arc where it's like, oh, like what's his face? Where did he go? And then they're like are like kissing at the end.
Yep,
I thought it was funny.
Which brings me to I also really like the final fight of the film because it's more than just Thor beating people down. They're also participating, and that's really cool.
And then, of course, Stellan Skarsgård's character, like
Selvig.
Yes,
Dr. Eric Selvig.
Yes, he couldn't like he's running around Stonehenge like naked or something,
trying to put these spikes in the ground because it's going to stabilize the realm.
Because there's issues going on with
the convergence, the dimensional convergence.
Yes, that's what the whole plot was.
Where all the 9/10 realms of Yggdrasil will align, and it's going to cause all sorts of gravitational havoc, and things are going to get pulled to the other worlds and things like that. So,
and he was great. And then he kept refusing to wear pants after they break him out of the mental institution.
It helps him think.
Yeah, and it's just I just love when he's just a kooky old scientist man.
Yep.
You know,
a kooky old scientist man. That's right.
Yes, he was right. And then this little, like, with Darcy crashing Jane's date with Chris O'Dowd.
Yep.
And I really wish they would have used this character more because I love Chris O'Dowd so much. He's so great.
It's always weird when he's a random love interest in something.
Yes.
Because we started watching him in the IT crowd.
And he is definitely no one's love interest
in the beginning.
That show.
Especially in the beginning.
Gross at the beginning. But yeah, and Darcy just keeps, like, talking about like all of Jane's problems, like, oh, will you put on clothes
and you showered. I
and
expected to find you at your mom's, like ankle deep in a ice cream tub, and
like just basically throwing all the shade at her. And it's like, shut up. And then Jane is like so obsessed with Thor that she's not even paying any attention to this date that she agreed to go on.
Yep.
So I feel really bad for Chris O'Dowd's character because he deserves so much better than Jane's.
This is Chris O'Dowd.
Yes, than Jane's distraction.
Yep.
Because all she wants is Thor, and Thor never came back. That's like the big plot.
2 years.
And then, like, when they get back together, like, she slaps him, and he, like, makes it to where, like, it's not raining on them or whatever.
No, it's her.
Okay.
Because at this point, she's got the Aether, and, like, it's raining because of all the weird dimensional weather stuff.
Okay.
But there's this huge, like, circle around her that's not affecting them.
Okay.
Yeah. It was an interesting, weird
that makes more sense.
Concept, yeah.
Than him just, like, hey, don't rain on my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, interesting little turn.
What is he, the god of rain? No.
And then we have our Stan Lee cameo where he is one of the patients in the institution.
Yep.
And then I didn't pull anything specific for MCU connections. There was a lot of connections back to like what happened in the event and Avengers and like what happened in New York.
Yeah, they talk about New York a lot. She slaps Loki when she comes up to Loki because that's for New York. Oh, I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what I had listed there.
Yeah.
That was really the only thing that that they really talked about was New York.
Lots of New York references. So as a side note, I don't really watch the show. Neither of us really watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I think this was the first one that had a major like influence on what was happening on the show. Yeah. Like the episodes that came out around this time were like, hey, it's what's happening with Dark World, but with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So.
And then this mid-credit scene that we get, that's a bigger connection where we meet the Collector for the first time.
Yep.
And they give the Aether, which is obviously they say it's an Infinity Stone, and they say how many more that they need to find.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then our post-credit scene is them.
Yeah, it's like the worst post-credit scene because it's just him coming back.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Overall, I really like Dark World personally, but if I have a complaint, it's as good as parts of it is. I think it's just, other than like the set dressing and the world usage, the plot is just kind of unmemorable.
Mm-hmm. Like I've seen this movie twice and forgot it like each time.
Yeah, I think the individual pieces of the film are fantastic, but as a whole, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, and I felt like it didn't have as much of the humor as the first one did, and I really liked that element. This one felt more like super serious, and then our cat is leaving.
Yeah. She like literally was on our lap during the whole of when we had the slides up, but now she's gone.
Yes.
But yeah, and it's not bad. I'm not trying to say it's bad. It's one of those situations
I don't
where
think it's a bad movie at all.
Even the least exciting Marvel films are still really good Marvel films. It's a lot of fun. It's just one of those situations where there's a lot of puzzle pieces put together, but the puzzle itself wasn't that impressive. Anything else to add on?
I don't really have a lot to say about this one. To me, it was just very unmemorable. Like I literally forgot most of it after I saw it the first time, and then I even had a hard time remembering some of the elements, even though I literally watched it yesterday. I don't think it's a bad movie. It just wasn't something that grabbed me and is one that I'm going to keep remembering forever and ever.
Yeah. Unlike the next one.
Oh.
We've reached the main event.
Yes, the one that you all really wanted to talk about, I'm sure.
The challenger, the big show, the best of the Thor trilogy. We're talking about the end of all things, Ragnarok.
All right, which came out last year on November 3rd, this time with Taika Waititi at the helm. So this is the third. I think this is the third time in a trilogy or one of these Marvel trilogies where 3 different people have directed each movie. The other ones at least have a repeat director.
At least twice. Yes. Like, because I think 2 of the Iron Mans were Jon Favreau.
Yes, and then 2 of the Captain America
were the Russos.
Yes.
So
this is the third phase. This is the 5th movie in the phase. So this is right before Black Panther. And, of course, #1 at the box office for opening weekend. $180 million budget, which we'll talk about that a little more later. And this one is technically still in some theaters. So this total worldwide is of right now. It has not quite reached $1 billion, but it,
considering most of the theaters it's in right now are like dollar cinemas.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll make it to the billion club, but it's definitely the highest grossing out of all of the Thor movies.
And I think Black Panther has surpassed it already.
I think so too.
Black Panther I don't think is in the billion yet, but
yeah, we'll get to that in a moment because I have a comparison for those.
Nice.
But definitely has done really well for itself. I think those November releases can be very successful for these Marvel films.
The pre-Star Wars release.
The one gripe I had about Ragnarok is the fact that in the trailer they spoil that Hulk is there. I could have done without that, because if you look at it from a narrative standpoint, they're trying to like hype up that like here's this big contender that Thor is gonna have to face, and then the fact that it's his friend. I would have liked to have seen that live and not like, oh, it's in the trailer and now it's been spoiled.
I think I would have liked it. I would have been more okay with it if they at least cut out the whole I know him, he's a friend from work bit. Like if they just showed Hulk bust out and then cut to the credit scene, then I think I would have been much more okay with the idea of it. But yes, in general, I can see that. I have a minor gripe, and it's not really even a big one. It's a similar one that we had to the first one. Is there's a little bit of inconsistency in the CGI. It's not as bad as the first one. As a matter of fact, there's only like 1 or 2 parts that we've talked about that where it is like slightly noticeable. But other than that, it's still fantastic.
Yeah, with the wolf, not particularly this scene, but one where they're in Asgard and Hela is standing and talking to everybody and like, ordering everyone around, and then the big wolf is behind her. It looks super green screen fake. Yeah. Like you went to the mall and like you got these pictures taken.
As a side note, it should be noted that it's impressive because most of the time her entire costume was CG.
Yeah, and like that stuff looked really good, and her headdress looked really good. Although I did prefer her with her hair down.
I did too.
That's just me. I really liked Hela. She just like shows up when the dad passes away and like, oh hi guys,
Neil,
remember me?
I remember my response in the theater when she was like, kneel, and they're like, what? And they're like, kneel before your queen. And I was just like, okay.
Yes, queen.
Yes, I will kneel.
Yes.
Because she's so awesome. And she's fun and she's like quippy and but she's dangerous too. It's not like she just jokes for joke's sake. She's a threat. Cal says she's so beautiful. It's true. She's got those like intense eyes and all that jazz. So, but to our next like.
Yes, and I thought I had a different picture next, but we'll go with this one. The Grand Master, who is the leader of the planet with all of the junk, Sakaar.
Sakaar, yes. The one who found Sakaar and founded the cities in Sakaar and the Grand Tournament, et cetera, et cetera. Who is peak Goldblum.
Yes.
He's just played by the legendary, magnanimous, amazing Jeff Goldblum, and he is peak Goldblum in this film. Tom says he's so beautiful. He is. That little silver bit on his lip there, and those smoky eyes. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I love his costume, and he's just like such a flamboyant character, but then also he wants this like law and order, and his assistant, which I don't think I got a picture of her.
Topaz,
and it's like, no, Topaz, what are you saying?
I don't like that word.
I don't like that word.
Which one? Mainframe? No, why wouldn't I like mainframe? I don't like the S word.
And it's like, oh, okay, so the prisoners with jobs.
Kimber saying Goldblum looks better now than he did 30 years ago, especially when he's got a beard. He rocks a beard really well.
If this guy showed up at Jurassic Park, I think Ellie would have gone home with him.
He had the melt stick too, so the dinosaurs probably wouldn't have been nearly as big of a threat.
Yeah, I don't know. That blue is a little.
I'm more accepting of that than the blue dude from the D&D movie.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Age finds a way. Hela's introduction.
Yeah, where she just literally destroys Thor's hammer and then
forged in a Dead Star.
And it's like, this lady means business, and her eye makeup is the best. Yeah,
it's just in general everything she did. They're like, we're gonna fight you, we're gonna take you. He throws it and she's like, nah. I'm just gonna smash it. And the smile she gives, because it's this slow build smile that you see in her eyes and everything else is just, oh my god, she's fantastic.
You could definitely tell she was having so much fun playing this part.
We watched one of the specials that came with the version we got, and it talks about like basically everyone's gushing about how much of a fun director Taika Waititi is to work with, and it shows.
You could tell.
You can tell everyone's having a good time making this movie.
I also love when Thor and Loki go to New York to try to find Odin.
I can't see the future. I'm not a witch.
Yeah, it's like, watch, dress like one. He's wearing like this all black outfit. Like, this is what people on Midgard wear today. And then Thor is wearing what people actually would wear.
Yep. I love.
Even though Loki has been to our realm several times,
but he always dresses like that.
Yeah.
Like, think about in Avengers when he's walking into that party, he's like sharply dressed.
But yeah, his hair looks pretty terrible here.
Yeah.
Just looking at it right now, and then Thor just looks like your average bro that's gonna go to the coffee shop.
He's got his acoustic guitar somewhere. He's gonna go to the coffee shop. I feel like it would have been so much better if instead of an umbrella, his Mjolnir was disguised as an acoustic guitar. That would have been so great. Cal saying this is the best part of the movie to him right here, this scene. Yes, when they're just sitting there, I love how their arms are crossed and they're looking at this destroyed old folks home, and then suddenly Loki's like, bye.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Loki get taken?
He does.
By Doctor Strange.
He does.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Which that scene is my favorite scene in the film.
I really love Valkyrie.
Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is fantastic. It's the thing, like, this whole movie is fantastic. Like, Black Panther took kind of the epic proportions that Ragnarok set up and just blew it up even more. And if they keep that level of just making these fun characters with exciting things to do and epic stories, it's going to keep going and be amazing, because she was fantastic. Her intro is great. Like, she undercuts the intensity for a moment and then builds it right back up, because she steps out of her ship, falls off of the freaking platform, and then they're like, whatever. And then they start gathering Thor back up. She's like, wait, hold on. And then she starts like smashing her little gauntlets together.
And just kills all of those people.
Yeah, just wastes them.
Kimber is saying that Candace needs to do a Valkyrie costume. Yes.
Agreed. The fight scene between the two of them was pretty fun.
Yeah, because I think this is when he realizes that she is Asgardian and a Valkyrie.
Right before. It's like right before, because they're fighting. I think like this scene, he sees the tattoo on her arm.
Yeah.
And then he says some snide little comment that Loki is one to do, and then she throws him against the wall. And then he's like, "Oh man, must be a terrible thing to remember." And then he forces her to remember like the worst day of her life.
Exactly, because Loki is the worst. I also love Thor's back and forth with her, where she won't acknowledge him, and he's just talking so excitedly about how when he was younger
he wanted to be a Valkyrie,
but then he realized that he couldn't because
they're women.
They're all women,
and then he realized how bad that sounded, and he's like, "Not that it's not great. I'm not a woman.
Women. I love them so much."
I really liked that Thor was fanboying over Valkyrie so much, because at one point later he picks up her sword. He's like, "Oh my god, is this a real dragon thing? Oh my god, so cool."
Yes, he was so great. But then, like, he had so much respect for her that he didn't try to hit on her.
Yeah,
where it's like, "Hey, lady, I'm girlfriendless. Do you want to like hook up or whatever?" Because she definitely would have been like, "You're dead right now." Did you just hit on me? Yeah, like I don't play that way.
But I love it. This scene, this is one I asked you to do.
Yes.
Specifically. There are like 4 scenes in this movie that look like they belong on a heavy metal album cover or painted on the side of a 1970s van. And this is one of those scenes. It's just this, here comes Thor crashing into an army, and you know he's about to wreck.
Yeah, because this is finally when he realizes that his hammer was just...
he's not the god of hammers.
Yes, he's the god of thunder. The Lord of Thunder.
Ha! Lord of Thunder.
Yes. And so he feel like, oh, like this was just like a way for me to harness my power. I had the power all the time.
It was just a tool. Even the hammer wasn't necessarily necessary. It was just a tool. You could, hit people with it.
Yeah.
He had a very special relationship with his hammer.
He didn't need Mew Mew anymore.
He had a very intimate relationship with his hammer.
Yeah. And then it's just another scene of like him, imbued with his innate.
This is, of course, from the trailer version before they actually showed him without his eye. Because in the actual film, he's missing his eye at this point. Weirdly, the same one that Odin lost. Yeah. And I love Hela's comment. She's like, "Oh, now you remind me of Dad." This guy. Scourge.
Yeah, Scourge. I got these from the realm of Texas.
I call them Des and Troy. Because when you put them together, they destroy.
This guy was great.
Scourge was fun. And there's a small complaint I have about Scourge is he was incredibly opportunistic, but then he was really self-sacrificing. Like it was a 180 switch for some weird reason. Like it felt like he didn't really need to jump off the ship to stop them. Just keep shooting him off the ship. But I'm glad he redeemed himself, because I love Karl Urban as an actor. I think he's going to be like, in the next couple of decades, going to be the next Gary Oldman, because he does so much. He's Scourge, he's Bones, he is very chameleon. Dredd, he's Judge Dredd. So I'm looking forward to more from Karl Urban. Again, much like Heimdall, it's just sad that they wasted Karl Urban on a disposable character.
Yeah, because Karl Urban, I mean, not that he's super popular, but definitely, like, this movie's not that old. Literally, it's from last semester, so...
Tom's saying he does that 180 in the comics, Asgardian first, like Loki. Okay, I see. So he's out for his own ends, but, I mean, it's Asgard. I get it.
It's a place, or it's people, not a place.
It's people, not a place.
When they're like, okay, now we gotta go.
We just gotta let Surtur destroy Asgard and everything will be fine. And then you see,
yeah, it's just like Groot when Groot doesn't listen to Rocket's full plan and just starts doing what he thinks is right.
But yeah, you just see Hulk fly out towards Surtur and clock him, and they're just like, oh no.
No, Hulk, and then he's like, but monster.
But huge monster.
I have to fight him. So
for once in your life, could you not smash?
Yes, he's like, man.
I love Grumpy Hulk.
And there's a lot of really funny stuff when he's back as Banner and didn't realize like how much time had passed, and he's having to wear Tony's clothes. And Tony's clothes are so little.
They are.
I liked getting to see like Loki do some fighting. I like it with Loki when he has the horns. I think it looked
that iconic helm.
Yeah, he looks really cool, and like I think they use like slow-mo effectively in this movie.
Especially in the major fight scenes.
And in the first movie, they use it pretty effectively as well. It's not like every fight scene.
Yeah. But it's all the big ones. I believe, again, I think this is one they modified slightly from the trailer to the final cut, because I think this fight is actually on the Bifrost.
Okay.
And it's the one where, you know, they have Immigrant Song playing and Loki's just like going to town with the rest of them. And it's just, that's a fun scene. But Loki and Thor teaming up and fighting, and every time he fights, it's entertaining. Much like the one of the previous likes with Valkyrie, it's a fun fight to watch. It's very well choreographed.
And then the music is used really well in this
movie.
Wonder
as well. Woman cough.
with with Immigrant Song used twice, and then I can't remember if there's any other pop songs in this one that they use Pure Imagination, which I don't think I have.
They do, but
I don't have a clip of that, but that one's really well when Thor
when he first gets to Sakaar and he's going to meet the Grand Master,
and they're explaining the whole
this is Sakaar and this is your new home.
It's kind of like the Epcot ride.
Yep. But here we are at the favorite like.
Yeah.
Everybody's new best friend and new favorite Marvel character, Korg Mean.
Yeah, Korg.
Hey man, I'm
Peace
Korg.
off, Ghost.
Peace off, ghosts.
The best line.
Tried to start a revolution. Didn't make enough pamphlets. Only my mom and her boyfriend Derek showed up, and I hate that guy. Played by Taika Waititi, the director. If you ask him, he will tell you, as a director, Taika Waititi is a fantastic, giving actor to work with. And as an actor, Taika Waititi will tell you that as a director, Taika Waititi is a fantastic and giving director to work with. Korg is fun. He is an off-kilter, just kind of like weird character to have around, but he always has some nugget of fun things to talk about. And
yeah, like when he's trying to find Thor a weapon, and then there's like a three-pronged fork that's made of wood. It's like, well, I guess if you're trying to like corner some vampires that are huddled together, this would work.
Yeah, which we felt was a reference to What We Do in the Shadows when he's talking about three vampires huddled together. Tom brings up that he kind of liked the green screen trailer swaps. At least it gave new elements to look at without spoiling the plot, and that's not something I had considered before. That if only they had done something like that instead of Hulk. Cal's saying he needs to watch this again. Want to come with me and my friends? Is no filter and is always sweet. Yeah,
yes, I love
he's
how
a friendly
sweet he
heart.
was.
He's just ultimately friendly.
Like, oh, this
but
is
he's always the revolution has begun.
Or where he's talking about like, oh yeah, it's a big weird circle. It doesn't make sense, and like, oh, we don't want you to die. And then, or when it's like, oh, like when Thor asks, hey, where's Mick live?
Oh, Mick's dead, man.
Mick's dead.
I stepped on him when we were on the bridge. I felt really bad, so I've been carrying him ever since. Oh, Mick, you're alive. Hey, what was your question again?
This is seriously like top 2 most precious characters.
Yeah,
Groot and this guy.
Yeah, for me, he's in the category of someone like Claw because he's a side character that's not necessarily a main front-running character. You're not going to see a Korg movie. Maybe
I would watch
don't know.
Korg movie.
I would love to see a Korg and Groot movie, like Korg and Groot team up, do a buddy cop thing.
Yes.
Not really. It would be a difficult movie to make, I think is what I'm saying.
I would watch that. Like many times.
But they're fun, and you love seeing them in scenes. They bring a really awesome energy to whatever they do, and it's just exciting to watch. Sounds like you had a really personal relationship with your hammer. Korg keyboards. Korg boards. Key Korg. But
Korg
yeah,
is the best.
But yeah, Korg is a fantastic character, and it's just I wish I could gush more about him, but I'm going to be saying the same things over and over because he's amazing.
Yeah, every scene he was in, he stole.
Yes.
All right, now we mentioned this man earlier, but Doctor Strange makes an extended cameo in this movie.
It just shuts Loki down.
And I love how he keeps messing with the perception of time to throw Thor off, and Thor does not appreciate it.
It's not just perception of time. It's like he's jumping them around the house. Just like, boom, every second they're somewhere else. It's like, can you stop that, please?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't drink tea, and then gives him like the biggest
beer stein that refills.
Yes.
I felt that I love this Doctor Strange because it's Doctor Strange. It's very comfortable in what he can do now.
Yes.
And he's very good at it.
Like, oh, we have Earth has wizards now.
We prefer practitioner or master of the mystic arts, but
yeah.
Okay, wizard.
Okay, wizard.
I love how he just jumps into. I have a list of very dangerous individuals, and your brother is on there.
My name is Dr. Stephen Strange.
So he just doesn't mess at all, and it's really nice to see that. Yeah, Strange is taken up. Basically, like I know everything that's happening on this planet now because I have magic. So it's really nice. Kimber says Cumber Bay
and Dr. Sexy.
Dr. Sexy,
yes, definitely.
Totes. It was a fun scene because it started with when they were on the street corner, and then he kidnapped Loki, and then Loki was falling for 30 minutes.
Yes,
which he is one to tell you very quickly.
Yes.
And he was going to try and kill Doctor Strange.
And the deleted scenes, which you have not seen, show us wearing another place where he may have been.
Nice.
Which is pretty funny. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that wants to watch the deleted scenes.
Fair.
And then, of course, another connection with the MCU is the fact that Hulk arrived to Sakaar on the Quinjet.
That he left in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm. And there's a moment where we get to hear from Black Widow, and that's kind of what triggers him to come back to being Bruce Banner.
And screwing up the Quinjet even worse.
Yes, and their one means of escape he totally destroys because he's Hulk.
Yeah.
And it's a very sad and poignant scene because obviously, he cares a lot about his friends, and people are like, he's very upset. They're like, "Oh, you only want me for the big guy," and they're like, "No, we
Thor's
love
like,
you.
Why would I like that guy? Smash everything. You're the smart one, Banner."
Mm-hmm.
After he just got finished telling Hulk the exact same thing. Like, why would I want Banner?
Remember. And then the fact that they were like calling each other like Tiny Avenger and like Stupid Avenger.
Yeah.
And then of course, like Thor's like password for the Quinjet is Point Break.
Is Point Break, which is a callback to the first Avengers when you got a mean swing Point Break. But yeah, because he goes through Thor, access denied. Strongest Avenger, access denied. Strongest Avenger, access denied. God of Thunder, access denied. Oh, Stark, Point Break. Welcome, Point Break.
And then Strongest Avenger is Hulk.
Yep. Welcome, Strongest Avenger.
All right, our Stan Lee cameo. He's the one that gives Thor his lovely haircut with all of his horrible tools, which is definitely a case of bad CGI when his
little hand opens up. So it's really funny too because it's one of the 3 times in this film we see Thor scream with legitimate fear on his face. It's fun to watch just in general. Everything about this movie bleeds this interesting style of just hilarity. So the mid-credit scene, some people caught it relatively quickly. The ship that shows up after Tib cat walking on keyboards. So they're on the ship headed to Earth, and they're having their conversation. Like, is it a good idea to go back to Earth? Oh yeah, they'll let me there. No, I mean, is it a good idea to take me back to Earth? Oh well, no, that's a bad idea. And then the ship shows up, and it's supposed to be Sanctuary 2, Thanos' ship. So, which will explain how when we come up on what is it? When we come up on the next movie on Infinity War, why Thor's just kind of in space is probably because of this.
Yeah. Tom wants to see what Stark's nickname for him is post haircut.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be some humor, but I feel as though the tone of Infinity War is going to be slightly less humor oriented. But we'll see.
All right, and then Tib spoiled this.
Post-credit scene.
Not that you didn't know, because if you're watching this and you haven't seen Thor, what are you doing here?
But it's the Grandmaster attempting to save his own skin by schmoozing up the people that just overthrew him. And I could see it working. I mean, we know he's on Earth.
His charisma is like a natural, like
it's super high. It's off the charts. It's like 99 charisma.
Yeah.
And we know it works because he's on Earth with a Derek or whatever his name is. Daryl, Thor's old roommate. Oh, but yeah, that was our breakdown of Thor Ragnarok. I think that's all of it, right? Anything else?
We have a few more things, but before we move on to some of the numbers comparisons, I know you noticed a huge theme in this trilogy that matches a theme from some of the other ones.
Yeah, so I'm starting to notice a prevailing theme in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it shows up a lot. It's not in every film. Not going to pretend it's in every film, but it's at least in this one and Black Panther, as well as Iron Man 2 and Guardians 2. And all sorts of other ones, it's like the sins of the father are a big deal, because even though in the first Thor and the second Thor you can, or at least the first Thor, not quite the second one, but in the first Thor you can argue that some of the reason things are going as bad as they're going is because Odin wouldn't tell Loki. He basically kept secrets and all sorts of stuff, which Odin is one to do. He's god of mysteries and secrets.
And Wednesdays.
And ravens and magic and poetry and war. Lots of things. Really sucks that he makes his kids be like the gods of like one thing, basically, each thunder and mischief. But regardless, sins of the father are kind of a big deal, and in Ragnarok is no like exit from that. Odin was a conqueror, and he made Hela incredibly powerful and gave her all this buildup and stuff like that. And everyone paid for it because of Odin's mistakes in the past is why Asgard had to fall. So, it's true. Mischief does cover a lot, Tom, but it's mischief. It's just mischief. And apparently Thor is the god of lightning as well as thunder, because, thunder is only the sonic boom sounds of, air rubbing against each other. Kimber also thinks the lipstick makes your eyes pop.
Well, thank you.
So, do we have
I wasn't sure about this color. All right, so comparing trilogy to trilogy, we see that budget-wise, it seems like they didn't have like a lot of faith in Thor. Maybe the first one they did, because they did give it a bigger budget than both Iron Man and Captain America. But as the films went on, it didn't kind of match up, especially with Iron Man 2 and 3 getting at least $200 million to make those movies, where Thor's budget never brokered that, which actually I think is a testament to like how well each director used their resources, because they still look like they're really polished movies with very few CGI flubs.
There's a lot of fantastic practical effects in the Thor films. If you look at a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, it's like half those sets are actual practical effects. They just have like green screen in the background for all the walls and everything.
Yes, and then of course the third Captain America movie is going to have a $250 million budget, because it was a huge Avengers light.
They needed the money, just if anything, for the entire cast.
Yeah, to pay the cast. And so then we definitely see, especially with as far as the tomato meter goes, that Thor has trended upward with audiences, even if it was just a little upward. And then with critics, they were not
bowed.
Yeah, kind of with the Dark World didn't fare too well, but then Ragnarok, all the critics seem to agree was a fantastic movie.
Yep.
But all of those ratings are fresh ratings, and in fact, I think the first Thor is a certified fresh.
Take it as you will.
Yeah, so to me, it was interesting to see that Thor, I guess because it hasn't done as well as the other ones. I mean, if you look at global box office, it definitely has yet to break $1 billion for its third movie. I'm not sure if it will, given this point it's been so far gone in the theater. And then each of its other movies didn't quite exceed either of its companions at the box office, except for the first Thor did better than the first Captain America movie box office wise. But other than that, they've kind of underperformed compared to the others in the trilogies.
So Tom,
interesting.
Tom's bringing up an interesting point that Homecoming started the stripped away trend his suit, Thor's hammer, MCU slowly dialing back and quickly retconning. Smart. I would say the only thing different is Black Panther got an upgrade from his first one. But yeah, in general, I can see that.
Yeah. And then, of course, I wanted to put Black Panther's current information up because, of course, it's still in the theaters. It's only in its, like, third or fourth weekend in the box office, and it's already surpassed what Thor has done since November in a few short weeks.
Yep, which is unprecedented.
Yeah, I would think that Black Panther is 1 or 2 weekends away from a worldwide $1 billion box office.
Yep.
It's resonating with people still.
Tom is also saying the trilogy is nice because it just got better, and I can agree to that. Even though some people like the first Thor better than Thor 2, I still think Thor 2 is in general a better movie. We get to see Loki not being the villain and actually fight alongside Thor. We get to see growth from the characters. We get to see Anthony Hopkins trying a little harder.
I would say after the fact, I think Thor's trilogy is a little better than Iron Man's.
I can see that.
I think Iron Man started off really strong and then faltered with its second and third
with some
movies.
Weird decisions.
Captain America definitely, I think, like really hit a high point with its second movie, and then Civil War's. I like it a lot, but I just didn't feel
that's what Tom is saying.
Strong.
It's also what Tom is saying that with Iron Man the strongest is 1, and with Cap the strongest is 2.
And for Thor it's 3.
Thor 3 is the strongest, but I would say overall Thor is a better trilogy than Iron Man.
I think it's definitely more even than Iron Man.
I would still say Captain America's trilogy is a little stronger.
Yeah.
But overall, Thor 2 better than Iron Man 3. I will agree. I will agree wholeheartedly.
Definitely.
I think the only reason I think Iron Man 3, the only reason it's really memorable is because of that dumb twist. I hate the whole Mandarin thing. And Iron Man 2 is better than 3 to me because at least it has Justin Hammer. And Hammer's great. So yeah, that's our breakdown of the Thor films. It's a lot of fun, really good. We're about to pull up our phase chart.
Yes.
As a side note, our next big film that's going to be released is Infinity War, which we don't know what happened to Thor leading up to Infinity War. We know a ship showed up, but that's about it.
Yeah. Loki's still around.
Tom is comparing Cap to the original trilogy Star Wars, though he knows I like Endor better. I do. I think that's what he's implying. I do enjoy Jedi more than Empire. I will admit Empire is a better crafted film. And even as much fun as I have with Civil War, I will always admit that Winter Soldier is just a better movie.
Yeah. So why don't we look at our phase chart? Which apparently Cal says that he loves this chart.
Yeah.
So we're almost totally done with phase 1's films. We will not complete it until we review Avengers, which Avengers will be the last movies that we review before Infinity War.
Yep.
So the only thing that we have left in that phase is Hulk. And then in phase 2, I know we have Guardians.
Is Ant-Man phase 2?
I think Ant-Man's in phase 2.
Yep, because he was introduced right before Ultron, and then Ant-Man was in Civil War.
Yes, so there's definitely some holes to fill in our little phase charts. I think the first one that we'll actually complete is the phase 3. I have to go look at which movies we're missing. But we're going to put up a poll to see which one that you would like for us to review next, because we're going to save the Guardians and the Avengers ones for like the last 2 weeks before
Infinity War.
Before Infinity War.
And we're basically done with the trilogies. Yes. All we have left are the singles.
And then Ant-Man we're going to do after Infinity War, because Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out after Infinity War. So basically your poll options are going to be the Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man Homecoming. Yep. So whichever one you want us to review next, that will be on deck for not this upcoming Sunday,
but the
following, because we do have a lot of weddings and stuff this month. So
yeah, we actually have 2 this month.
We'll tweet out the official dates and such after we get the poll results. But we wanted to know what you wanted to see next from us, because we're pretty open to. There's not like a particular order this has to go in.
Nope.
So we're just,
as long as we put the Guardians and then the Avengers movies right before Infinity War.
Yeah, that's the only plan that we have.
Yeah, that's about it. Keep an eye out on our Geek to My Nerd Twitter account, where we will be doing that there. Putting up the poll for everyone to see.
Yeah, and then we have been playing Secret of Mana on our channel with our roommate Luke, so we're going to be starting that back up soon. Again, it's been a week. Yeah.
On top of us having a wedding this upcoming weekend, this is my midterms week.
Yeah, and it was our anniversary, so
yeah,
we kind of took a little bit of break from media things.
Yep.
Let's see what they're saying in the chat before we depart.
There's a lot of love for Dr. Sexy. Or / Mr. Doctor. Cal's asking if we're doing Hulk, but that's before we made the announcement of how we're doing the next 3.
Yeah.
Cal also saying we have good choices. Tom is saying he also expects a full catch-up of the MCU shows. We were on the way home today talking about what we're going to do after Ant-Man and the Wasp, waiting for the next MCU film. And we talked about maybe doing some fun other Marvel-related stuff. Maybe we could talk about especially the Netflix shows.
Yeah, we haven't done that. I would like to talk about those.
Maybe during summer we can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes of that. I wouldn't mind catching up on that, even though I've heard mixed things.
I'm sure it's like any TV show.
Saying we go to so many weddings.
We do. We go to a lot.
Yes, everyone in our group is getting married.
I think we go to a lot of weddings right now, because there was like a 6-year period where we barely went to any.
Yeah.
Like 2.
Tom is sending you good vibes for your
midterms. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Sam's back. Welcome back, Sam.
Tom is saying Runaways is so good.
Runaways, another one. And then also Legion. If we wanted to dip our toe into the X-Men. We could also talk about non-MCU Marvel stuff.
Yeah, there's
all a lot
sorts of stuff. So yeah,
there's a lot we could do with Marvel.
Just because Infinity War will eventually come and go doesn't mean that talking about all things Marvel will go away.
Kimber brings up Legion. That's one I want to try. I love Aubrey Plaza as an actress, and she's a regular in the show.
Nice.
So I want to give Legion a try. There's just a lot for us to watch. And typically, if it's not animated or
Futurama, which is also animated. If it's not Futurama, Toast of London, IT Crowd.
Most of you guys know our shows.
Yeah, we just keep watching the same stuff over and over.
Oh, Legion also has Jermaine Clement.
Oh, nice.
Which I was talking with Nolan earlier in a chat, and I was like, man, I would love it if Jermaine Clement was cast as Mysterio in the MCU. But maybe some fan castings is something we could do in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe some fan castings of, I don't know, other eras.
Yeah, the 90s is a great time. A lot of good actors. The 80s. Anyway, we've rambled on way too much.
But that's how we roll. That's how we roll. We're not good at ending these things.
We're not.
So bad.
It's the worst.
We've been going for a little over an hour now, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We hope you've really enjoyed this. We know we really enjoyed watching all 3 Thor films yesterday.
In one sitting.
With like a 20-minute break between each.
It was good time.
It was a lot of fun. And we bought Ragnarok digitally for this because you guys voted for it. I was excited that you voted for it.
I was really gunning for Spider-Man.
Yes. Honestly,
there's only one movie.
I would have been happy with any of the 3.
Yeah.
The 3 choices that we put out for you guys to vote for. So a fun story, and then we'll be off the air.
Yes.
So when I made the poll, it's because I saw Thor Ragnarok was on sale digitally on Amazon. And I was like, cool, that means it's probably in the stores, right? And then I went to about 3 stores looking for it. And then finally I was like, let me look one more time. Maybe somewhere else has it. And they didn't, because it doesn't come out until tomorrow physically. So I'm like, well, let me make sure that the digital thing wasn't just a pre-order and I misread it. And if it was, we had a backup plan. Like if it was just a pre-order, it wasn't available yet, then blah, blah, blah. So Tom is saying he wants Bruce Campbell to be Mysterio. I would love Bruce Campbell to be in the MCU. I just don't know how. Yeah. Oh my God! What if he was J. Jonah Jameson?
Oh man, that could work.
To me that could work really well.
And then he would be in both two out of 3 Spider-Man franchises.
It's fair.
Anyway.
So that's it. And welcome, or thank you for joining us. You can find me on Twitter at the Spice Must Joe.
You can find me at _Mrs. Davis.
And we have a communal account, Geek to My Nerd with underscores between each one. Keep an eye out there for our upcoming posts and stuff about our next one, which will be 2 weeks from yesterday, 13 days. And thank you. Thank you so much. And next Monday, keep an eye out on YouTube for Odd Shaped Panel. Yes. Which I believe will be an OSP and chill.
I don't know. I think so, because the last one was a themed show. So
no, it can't be better than Simmons, Tom. No one can be better than Simmons, but still, we can dream. We can dream.
We can.